Replacing the garage door today. No more manual lift. This is the new garage door. This is our wonderful installer. And let's see how they do it. So, first things first is removing the old garage door and all the hardware that goes with it. So he's just knocking these old hinges off that hold the different sections of the garage door together. And then next is the most dangerous part, which is relieving the tension in this old spring. The spring is what makes it easier for you to open the door manually. You have to lift the weight of the entire door because the spring is doing the counterbalancing. So here he's just taking it out, and I love how he uses this ladder as a prop. He's just dancing about with this little ladder the whole time. Now the exciting part of taking apart the door. This was cool to see him disassemble it because I honestly thought a garage door was just one solid door. I didn't know it was made up of 4 different panels. So these little cables are what lift the whole door up?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. They're so strong.
Oh, yeah.
Old motor is going goodbye. There goes the old tension rod. Next step is removing the old tracks off either side of the garage door. And then taking off the trim. It was barely held on there. You just kind of pulled it off. All right, transition time. This is where the new stuff starts coming in. So they're bringing in the new panels, pulling it off the truck, using their heads. It was a pretty beautiful dance watching them maneuver everything around. And you can see the panels are still really floppy, like they twist almost in half because they're not reinforced yet. And then they just slide them onto the tracks that they installed. And then once they get pieces stacked on top of each other, they screw the hinges onto each panel to secure them to one another. It's just a stack and screw, a stack and screw. And this is a pretty smart way to install it. Use the track in place to stack the panels and then fasten them into one another one by one by screwing those hinges on. You know, you could tell these guys are pros. And here we got some wind struts. So this is reinforcing for the panels so that when wind blows or you have strong weather, it doesn't bend the doors inward. Next step is installing this track. So this was just a beautiful part. I mean, he gets it in place. He's up on a ladder. He's holding it with his shoulder. He gets the level in place. He screws it into place with one hand. Like, this ain't his first rodeo, you know. He's done this before. And then this is the little bracket for the winding rod. Goes up there. So the next step, they could put that winding rod in place. So he loads the spring onto the rod and all the little hardware, and then they just put it up there into place. They actually had a hard time getting the other side into place. They were working it for a little while, but just couldn't quite get it. So what they ended up doing was he took that bracket off the wall and slid it onto the rod, then reinstalled it once he got it on there good. After you get the rod in place, then you gotta hook up the cables to the pulley before you wind up the torsion spring. So this is where the tension is actually going, is into these cables to act as the counterweight for the garage door. Next up is winding up that new spring. So look at him go with his little bars, like, oh, there he goes. Once he has it where he wants it, he tightens up the bolts. And look how he has his vice grips holding the bar in place, and it's just leaned up against the header so it doesn't move while he's turning the spring. And I don't exactly know why they waited to put that last panel on, but that's just what they did. So the top panel has wheels on it, The bottom panel does too. And he just pops it into place. Boom. Puts the hinges on, the final sections. I mean, these guys are quick. They did this whole process in like an hour and a half. Voila! Beautiful, baby. Okay, now here is a nice little device that cuts punched angle, and they use this as hangers for the tracks. So the joist might not exactly be in the right spot to line up with the holes in the tracks, the bolt holes. So he puts one on the joist and then uses two other hangers, two other angles to make this triangulated hanger. And it lines up, he can make it line up perfectly with the bolt holes in the tracks. Now we're finally getting that motor in place. So first they attach it to the header, and then it was so cute how he just like lifted the little garage door up and then used that to hold the motor in place. Work smarter, not harder, you know. So here he just looks at the motor and then yells out, hey, cut it at 4 inches. He's just done it so many times he knows. He didn't even have to measure it or like touch it. He just knows. And then same thing as the tracks. This is holding the motor in place. Here we have the motor bracket. So you attach that to the motor track and the garage door. Tighten it up. And then voila, baby. Look at that. Imagine that you install something and it works on the first try. Like, that never happens for me. Ustedes son muy rápidos.
Sí.
Sí. Profesionales.
Entonces todos los días.
Little touch-ups.
Yeah.
Now some final touches, installing the new weather stripping. Battery operated nail gun for the win. I love this tool. A little cleanup, we're good to go. Okay, can I take one video with you? ¿Cuál es tu nombre?
Ernesto.
Ernesto! What are all the components that you did?
So everything right here is, this is the track, 4 eyes for the motor, trim, panels, motor, wall control, heat pad. They call the struts for the window, like the tornadoes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
make the door strong, like they don't
For
bend.
wind.
Yeah, for wind. Yeah.
Okay. What's that?
This is called the motor bracket. This to make manual. You put,
Oh, it makes a manual.
Yeah, you put
I see, I
down
forgot.
manual. You put back is for the motor.
Okay.
But anyway, this motor has battery back out. When they don't have no power, they work for a couple of days.
And it seems like the spring is the complicated part.
Yeah. Well, for us it's the same, but you know, when new guys, yeah, that's a problem because they get a lot of tension on the spring, so they need to be careful with it.
Is it dangerous?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten got by a spring?
No,
Never?
never. But I was for 20 years in the garage door, so.
Not even in the beginning? Wow, you're lucky.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's how you install a garage door.
Way behind there.